to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Josh All Alone, your host today, and yep, here we go again, guys. It is another mock draft, this time mock draft 5.0, and really, the way these things have kind of been unfolding during this pre-draft process is really what the flavor of the week for the Cleveland Browns. If you remember when things kind of kicked off this pre-draft season, it was all the hype and buzz was around Shedeur Sanders to the Browns, and then we got to the combine and everything shifted, and it was Cam Ward is the Browns guy at 2, and then that kind of changed after everything went toward Tennessee with Cam Ward. So then it was, hey, maybe the Browns are onto this Abdul Carter, and then the rise of Jackson Dart in the Browns rankings, according to all the buzz and hype, of course. Enter this week, boom, it is Travis Hunter season. So what are we going to do here in today's mock draft? Stay tuned, and we'll break it all down. It's going to be a ton of fun. This will be the first mock draft that I do that involves a trade, and it will not be a trade to get up or down in the draft necessarily, but it's going to, well, I guess it kind of does. But it also acquires another player from another team. So we will get to that. But first, let me remind you guys, if you're watching on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to continue to grow the following, grow the channel. So every time somebody subscribes, that just helps out our show a ton. Tap the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. We have the first round of the NFL draft coming up in exactly 3 weeks from today. We will be covering the draft live on that night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or X. We will be there covering everything, and right away for the Browns pick at 2. We are excited. Cannot wait to do that show. So make sure you guys tap the notification bell. Don't forget to join us on draft night. Okay, so a couple things to note here before we get into the mock draft. Just broke this morning. The Patriots have traded quarterback Joe Milton to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are sending their compensatory 5th-round pick to the Patriots in exchange for Joe Milton and a 7th-round pick. So another quarterback who has been linked to the Browns this offseason, there was hype and buzz around whether or not the Browns should trade for Joe Milton, who had a couple flashy moments last year in the preseason and in the Week 18 game against whoever it was, the Bills, I think, playing against their backups. You know, we were like, yeah, Joe Milton's intriguing and everything, but at the time, it was like the Patriots are seeking like a 3rd-round pick in exchange, that type of value, and we're not doing that for Joe Milton. Sorry, it just he wasn't even a very highly rated prospect coming out of Tennessee last year. They took him in the 6th round, so they end up getting a 5th-round pick back for Joe Milton. So, you know, they made out on the deal a little bit, but it's just interesting that Joe Milton was acquired for a 5th-round pick and Kenny Pickett was acquired for a 5th-round pick. So I posed the question online, who would you rather have, Browns fans, Kenny Pickett or Joe Milton? One was deemed a 1st-round talent, didn't really pan out to be anything close to that. The other, deemed to be a 6th-round talent, upside potential still untapped and unknown. But again, not many 6th-round quarterbacks turn into anything worth a note in the NFL. So that's that. Another note real quick from this morning, the Cleveland Browns are scheduled to host Texas wide receiver Isaiah Bond for a top 30 pre-draft visit next week. Isaiah Bond, kind of maybe a slept-on receiver in this draft class, didn't have the biggest production at Texas this past season, but the important, or I guess an interesting note for me, is Isaiah Bond was a transfer to Texas, and where did he play in 2023? He played at Alabama with Jalen Milroe and now Browns offensive coordinator Tommy Rees. So we're starting to see a few more of these connections with Tommy Rees through the collegiate ranks. Jalen Milroe is one of the top 4 quarterbacks on the Browns board, one of the only 4 quarterbacks they've privately worked out and met with and done all this interaction and stuff. And now you're seeing a former Alabama wide receiver who had his best season, just like Milroe, in college under Tommy Rees at Alabama. So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's definitely one to keep my eye on. I actually thought about trying to rework my mock draft here this morning to try to get Isaiah Bond in here somewhere. But with the way this draft that I've done today starts and shakes out, there's really no spot for him. And as we go through, you'll kind of see why. I guess there is, and I'll try to remember to mention that when I get to that point. And then you guys in the comments let me know which direction you would have gone at that point. Last quick note, Browns are meeting with Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter today, tomorrow. Tomorrow's the pro day for Colorado. So it's either tonight probably that they're going to take Shedeur Sanders out to dinner. I don't know. Probably him and Travis Hunter would be my guess. At the same time, they're going to have private workout, I believe, with Shedeur Sanders. There was some conflicting reports whether there was actually going to be a private workout or if they were just going to have like the one-on-one dinner with him and then go to the pro day and all that kind of stuff. But head over to the Dawgs Podcast social medias, X, Facebook, Instagram, at the Dawgs Podcast, everywhere on social media. Make sure you follow us there because we will keep you updated that way on what the Browns are doing with the Colorado Superstars. And speaking of Colorado Superstars, let's kick off Mock Draft 5.0, shall we? So with the first pick on the Browns board, well, I should say with the second pick in the entire draft, round 1, pick 2, Cleveland Browns, we're following the hype for the week. It is Travis Hunter, wide receiver / cornerback out of Colorado, 6 foot, 188 pounds, 22 years old, Heisman Trophy winner. Let's read the NFL draft profile for him first, and then we'll dive into some more notes about Travis Hunter. Exciting two-way player whose world-class athleticism and ball skills help him shine on both sides of the ball. Hunter is an instinctive, natural football player with a feel for making the biggest plays at the biggest times. He was the best player on his team by a long stretch. On offense, Hunter gets by on talent over technique, but will need to smooth out the journey from press release to catch with better route running at the NFL level. He has the burst to uncover over 3 levels with ball skills and catch focus that are reminiscent of Devontae Smith during his Heisman Trophy winning season. The cornerback tape was solid in 2023, and it improved across the board in 2024. Hunter takes his skills and instincts from receiver and transfers them over to cornerback, where they amplify his ball hawking talent and production. Hunter plays with excellent anticipation from man or zone with burst and playmaking range that should terrify quarterbacks. He possesses rare ball skills and leaping ability to make challenging interceptions, and he will contest a high number of passes. He's leggy, and he loses some ground when transitioning from the pedal, and he needs to prove he can handle the rigors of NFL run support. Hunter was playing twice as much as his fellow prospects, and he lacks ideal frame size at both receiver and cornerback. Teams will need to make a decision on where and how to play Hunter, but he's capable of making a good number of winning plays as a future star, no matter the choice. Okay, so we talked about Travis Hunter earlier in the week. There's been a lot of buzz about him in just the community overall about going to the Browns at number 2 overall. As a wide receiver in 2024, Travis Hunter played 94% of his snaps out wide. But in 2023, he played 64% from the slot. So he's really an alignment versatile player. Kind of move him all over the field, all over the formation, just let him do his thing. His yards per route run, if you guys watched my top 10 wide receiver episode, I talked about yards per route run. We're looking for anything at about 2.5 yards per route run or over for these wide receivers. Kind of crazy numbers for Hunter over his career. So this past year, 2024, he had 2.51, but he had 3.12 in his first collegiate season back in 2022. So the numbers are really nice there. He only has 4 dropped passes over his entire career, and that was 170 targets. His career contested catch percentage was 63.3%, and he forced 24 missed tackles in 2024 as a wide receiver. That was the second highest behind Luther Burden III, who had 30 missed tackles forced. And those are just the offensive notes. He played 753 snaps on offense, and then he turned around and played 776 snaps on defense. He was tied for the 5th highest offensive and receiving grades in this entire draft class, and he had the second highest defensive grade behind only Jahdae Barron from Texas. He had 34 tackles, 24 solo, 11 pass breakups, 4 interceptions, scored a touchdown on defense, and also forced a fumble. He had 96 receptions, 1,258 yards, and 15 touchdowns on offense. The thing with Travis Hunter that it captivates me and that I keep using in arguments with people, he did this. And let's look at it from the offensive side of the ball, because Andrew Berry has already gushed over this kid. He's already come out and said, I view him as a wide receiver first and foremost, all that kind of stuff. As a receiver, 96 receptions in college, almost 100 receptions, 1,258 yards, and 15 touchdowns puts him at the top of the class. I don't have the rankings up here to see where he was leader-wise, but among the leaders in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. I think he had the second most touchdowns in the nation with 15. He did all of that while also playing pretty much 100% of the snaps on the other side of the ball. He was a two-way player, a true two-way player, which makes what he did on offense that much more impressive, because you look at these other guys that put up nice numbers on offense. Well, they're not going out there and playing defense the entire game as well. And then you look at his defensive numbers and you think, okay, the other guys that are up against him prospect-wise, they're not going out there and leading their team and the country in some statistical categories in offense, in receiving. So there's a lot of this stuff, they talk about he needs to fine tune his route running at the NFL level. He needs to bulk up a little bit, all that kind of stuff. I get it. This dude was not focusing 100% of his attention on being a wide receiver. And I heard somebody talking the other day, I forget who it was, so I apologize. I cannot shout you out on another podcast, but they were talking about Travis Hunter and said, at the NFL, very, very unlikely that he is going to be able to play both wide receiver and cornerback, at least to the extent that he wants to. Now, if I were the Browns, I would be making sure, I would say, you are a wide receiver who is going to come in at certain situations and in certain formations and stuff and coverages on defense to help out. That's how we're going to deploy you. Because, and the point was that, I thought this was so good, NFL is different than college, because at the NFL, you will not have the time to be both a full-time receiver and a full-time cornerback. Why? There's not enough time to watch the tape. There's not enough time to be in all the meetings. How are you going to be in the wide receiver meetings and watching the tape of the defensive backs and the defensive schemes that you're going up against that week when you should be in the cornerback meetings at the same time doing all their tape and film work and preparation and all that stuff? It's going to be very, very hard to prep throughout the week to play a high level at either position if you're trying to do both. Focus on wide receiver. This kid is an absolute weapon. I heard him referred to as an absolute demon with the ball in his hands. He is shifty. He's quick twitch, the kind of things you look for in a receiver. He's got the speed. And the thing is, he'll I think it was Deion Sanders, Blake said, came out with the quote, there is no jump ball with Travis Hunter. It is Travis Hunter's ball. You throw it up, he is going to come down with it. There were a lot of plays on tape when I was scouting Shedeur Sanders, and that's what really turned me on to Travis Hunter. If you guys remember from earlier in the draft process, I kept bringing up, and at the time, Blake wasn't so on board, but we're kind of back to it now. But I was like, man, Travis Hunter popping off the tape, because he bailed Shedeur out on some really not great passes here and there that were big gainers, touchdowns, that kind of thing, because Travis Hunter made a play on the ball. I would be stoked, to be honest with you guys, if the Browns pulled the trigger on Travis Hunter with pick 2 here in the first round. This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. Dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS. You guys are going to notice a theme here this draft. I am loading up on offensive weapons, and we're going to fix this putrid, abysmal, pathetic, embarrassing offense that we watched in 2024. And with the first pick in the second round, pick 33, I'm taking TreVeyon Henderson, running back out of Ohio State. Blake's going to love this pick, and I did this for all of us, but Blake, I really did this one for you. 5'10", 202 pounds, 22 years old. Henderson ran a 4.43 40-yard dash, a 1.52 10-yard split, had a 38.5-inch vertical and a 10-foot 8-inch broad jump. He was the number one athleticism scorer among all the running backs in this entire draft class at the combine. NFL profile, Henderson is capable of starring on third downs or biting off a bigger chunk as a 3-down option. He has average size but above average juice with good acceleration. He's an average decision maker inside and is not overly creative once confronted by the defense, but he has the pacing and subtle shiftiness to excel as an outside runner. He might be the best pass protecting running back in this entire draft and is more than capable as a pass catcher. Henderson is not Jahmyr Gibbs, but he can operate in a similar role for teams looking to add a more dynamic player to their running back room, and that is exactly what the Browns are looking to do and they need to do. Henderson's strengths: he reads both levels on stretch plays and presses runs tight to his blocker's hip. He slides from gap to gap with twitchy lateral movements. He accelerates into build-up speed that makes him tough to catch. Rhythmic in and out of cuts, and has not fumbled in 3 seasons. So he doesn't fumble, and he's the best pass-protecting running back in this class. And he's a home run threat every time he touches the ball. Give him to me right now. Shakes off angle tackles and drops pads to deliver big contact at the finish. Sorts, centers, and strikes like an offensive lineman when he's in protection. He displayed route running potential against Purdue in 2024. Soft hands make him a safety valve out of the backfield for his quarterback. Weaknesses: slightly undersized to take on a heavier workload. We know that. Plays fast, but is primarily a one-speed runner. That speed is pretty darn good. Average vision inside will lead him into trafficked areas. Not much creativity to conjure yardage in tighter spaces. Catches too much contact through the line of scrimmage. So they mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs. Henderson, I've heard him a lot, kind of comped and compared to Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions. Basically, in what Jahmyr Gibbs provides for them as an NFL offense, he's not a high-volume workhorse back, but he doesn't need to be because he just slays defenses over and over on every carry. 2024, TreVeyon Henderson averaged 7.1 yards per carry. You don't need high volume when you can average 7 yards a carry every time. Every time you're touching the ball, you're ripping off chunks. That is awesome. He had 144 carries, 1,016 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And that was operating in a split role with Quinshon Judkins, who was primarily the goal line back. So TreVeyon Henderson wasn't even getting the bulk of like goal line carries or anything, and still had 10 touchdowns, which tells you the dude can score from freaking anywhere on the football field. He also caught 27 passes for 312 yards and 4 more touchdowns. He averaged 11.6 yards through the air out of the backfield. That's just crazy. Since he's not a workhorse type of ball carrier and he has dealt with injuries in college, you got to pair him up with a bigger bruiser like the Lions have for Jahmyr Gibbs with David Montgomery. So for me, I'm either bringing back Nick Chubb after the draft, or stay tuned, because I also draft this type of bigger bruiser back later in this mock to pair with TreVeyon Henderson. But make no mistake, TreVeyon Henderson is exactly the type of weapon the Browns need coming out of their backfield. He is currently projected pick 46 in the second round. But guys, I've seen mocks, and I've even heard analysts say that they wouldn't be surprised to see him go as high as pick 10 to the Chicago Bears in the first round. Because you think about it, it's Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. A lot of Detroit Lions philosophies and things getting moved over to Chicago, and the Lions had Jahmyr Gibbs. So could the Bears, shock everybody, swing big, and take TreVeyon Henderson as in the top 10 of the NFL draft? It's possible. But here, he slides out of the first round, and I am not screwing around. I am taking him, pulling the trigger right here. Pick 33 is TreVeyon Henderson. All right, guys, here's where things get interesting. If the Browns are going to make a move and trade for quarterback Kirk Cousins from the Atlanta Falcons, this is something that I could see Andrew Berry doing, this type of trade right here. So we are at pick 46 right now, the 14th pick in the second round. Andrew Berry trades pick 90, the Browns pick 94, late third round pick, and pick 179, early sixth round pick, to Atlanta for Kirk Cousins and their second round pick right here, pick 46. Now, full disclosure, I'm not pretending to fully understand the financials or the trade pick values in this sort of a move. And it's honestly kind of a pretty unique trade because 36, 37-year-old quarterbacks don't normally get signed to $180 million guaranteed contracts just so they can get benched for a rookie and then be traded the following season. So we don't have a lot of precedence for what this type of trade would look like, what the value is. So in this case, Andrew Berry and the Browns agree to take on more of the financial cap hits and that type of thing for Kirk Cousins to alleviate that from the Falcons in exchange for moving back into the second round. The Falcons get financial relief, and they still get to pick at the end of round 3, along with an additional 6th-round pick. I don't even know if that's a fair trade or anything. It sounds okay to me. I wouldn't be mad about it because the Browns are going to swoop in here at pick 46. This guy has fallen out of the first. He's fallen through the first part of the second round. And now they go get the last of the top quarterbacks on their draft board. And who knows, maybe he's even been their top guy all along since they have Tommy Rees at OC. But the Browns take quarterback Jalen Milroe from Alabama. 6'2", 220, 22 years old. Talked about him on last week's mock 4.2. I took him there at 33. This week he slides a little further and we trade back up, get Kirk Cousins because he's going to be our starter for at least 2025, maybe 25 and 26. Wow. Now we get the hopeful heir apparent in Jalen Milroe who can come in, work on his mechanics, work on his footwork, learn the procedures of, being a quarterback at the NFL level, the preparation, everything that goes into it. And maybe by, maybe even by as soon as 2026 next season or halfway through, or maybe even by 2027, we've got a guy who is up to speed, fixed a lot of things, and actually looks like a decent NFL quarterback. So in 2024, 64.3% completion, 2,844 yards, 16 touchdowns to 11 picks. But he had a better season in 2023 when Tommy Rees was his OC at Alabama. 65.8% completion, 2,834 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 6 picks. I'm not going to go into the rushing numbers and all that stuff because they're great either way. The dude is a fiend on the ground. He is awesome. So I talked about him last week. I don't want to really dive into a whole lot of repetitive stuff. I think there's been some misleading social media content that has kind of painted Jalen Milroe in an unfair light. He's a better prospect, actually, in my opinion, and in other people. I've listened to other breakdowns, analysis. Todd McShay, one of these guys, he's a better prospect than Anthony Richardson was. And Anthony Richardson went 4th overall in the NFL draft. And a lot of people, the big knock I'm seeing from people is that Jalen Milroe is not accurate. Well, let's look at this for a second because actually he was. And I'm nothing compared to these other guys that I'm going to mention here. Anthony Richardson had a 54.7% completion percentage in college, 54.7. And he only played one season as the quarterback for Florida. Jalen Milroe has played 2 full seasons as the starter for Alabama, and he had 12 games played over his first 2 seasons even before that. 64.3% completion for Jalen Milroe this past season, or over his career, 64.3% over his career, 45-20 career touchdown to interception ratio. Anthony Richardson had a 24-15 ratio. not great. So if you're going to go down the inaccurate route, let's look at some other people here. Josh Allen, 56.2% completion percentage in college, and Lamar Jackson had a 57%. Everyone that I listened to about these prospects coming into the NFL, I remember they were extremely worried about Anthony Richardson's 54.7 and his lack of experience being really bad for him at the NFL level. Quarterbacks who have under 60% completion in college do not historically do very well in the NFL. And what has Richardson done so far in 2 seasons in the NFL? A 50.6% completion percentage. Abysmal. Josh Allen's first 2 seasons, 52.8 and 58.8% completion. Abysmal. Lamar Jackson's rookie season, 58.2%. Abysmal. Now, those 2 guys turned it around. We'll see what happens with Anthony Richardson. But that is not Jalen Milroe. As much as social media wants you guys to believe that he's at these low 50s rates like these other guys he's getting compared to, he's just not. 64.3% this past season, like I said, 65.8 in 2023 with Tommy Rees. And for what it's worth, I do like the things about Jalen Milroe that I believe can help him develop into a legitimate NFL quarterback as long as you've got a locked-in starter in front of him to let him work on these things. Jalen Milroe, if you guys have not looked into him, look it up. Great work ethic, strong motivation, strong leadership, high football IQ. He's just an overall super intelligent human being. Everybody who's been around him says they love him. People gravitate toward him. He is a people person. When he speaks to the media and he's asked questions, you can just tell he's confident but humble. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a quarterback who's got these elite athletic, just freak athleticism abilities, because you can't teach those. And can you mold him to fix certain, deficiencies in his game, his footwork, his the way his stance, the way he drops back? Because, from what I've read, Jalen Milroe operated a more pro-style offense going through full field reads and progressions in 2023 under Tommy Rees, and that's the year he had his best season in college. So I do have a lot higher outlook for Jalen Milroe than, Blake and probably Justin on this podcast, but I'm not afraid to say it. I believe that given the right situation and the right amount of time to develop, Milroe could be sneaky good for an NFL team. I think that he could develop into something special for the Browns, given they have Kevin Stefanski, Tommy Rees, and in this situation, in this mock draft, the Browns just traded for Kirk Cousins, who can now start for 2025 and 2026 if necessary, and who knows how far Jalen Milroe could come along by then. This episode is brought to you by Bodden Sports. Browns fans, Bodden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Bodden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Bodden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Bodden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Bodden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Bodden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard games section of Bodden's website, where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Bodden Sports, BADEN Sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BoddenSports.com/dogs.
What's up, Browns fans? If you're watching this, you already know me as a host of your favorite Browns podcast, but what you may not know about me is that I'm also a licensed realtor here in the state of Ohio. So if you're local to Tuscarawas County or Stark County, or you just need help finding a trusted agent in your area, shoot me an email at agentblakereniker@gmail.com to see how I can help you reach your real estate goals.
Okay, so here's the spot. Pick 67, the third pick in the third round, where I thought about maybe I can twist it around and I can put Isaiah Bond here since the Browns just said they were going to be meeting with him next week and all that kind of stuff. You know, connections to Alabama, Tommy Rees, Jalen Milroe, all that stuff. But I don't want to. I want to stick with the guy that I had picked here because I think this would be an awesome pick for the Browns. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. But here at pick 67, we are taking Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end out of Bowling Green. 6'3", 240 pounds, just 20 years old. So he's a young guy. This might be, looking at mock draft database and some other things, this might be actually a little too high. And, right at the top of the third round here for Harold Fannin to go. But I mean, he's also a player that I wouldn't be surprised to see him go in the back half or toward the end of the second round, depending on how NFL teams are evaluating him. He's kind of undersized for the position at 6'3", 240, but his extremely young breakout age and his insane production profile for the tight end position in college, we can't underplay these things. And the Browns did host him for a visit, so they've shown interest in Fannin. He grew up, is from Canton, Ohio, went to McKinley High School, grew up as a Browns fan. He actually played defensive back in high school. So this guy's got some knowledge on that side of the ball as well. NFL profile, enigmatic prospect featuring record-breaking single-season catch production despite a straight-legged playing style. Fannin's lack of functional bend forces him on more linear tracks and cuts his route tree in half, but it doesn't keep him from getting around the field or through the pattern with good speed. Fannin's hands are automatic, and he's a competitive runner after the catch, but he needs to prove he can beat tight press man coverage. He won't block much, but his ability to stretch the field from the slot and make the tough catches give him a shot as a potential tight end too, with upside. Again, Browns don't really have a slot receiver per se. I know we drafted Travis Hunter. Him and Judy can kind of intermingle who's coming into the slot, who's bouncing out wide. You got Cedric Tillman on the other boundary, all that kind of stuff. That's great. David Njoku's in the middle of the field as well. But David Njoku's also a hell of a blocker, and they use him a lot in that role. A guy like Harold Fannin could come in here and just be that big-bodied receiver from the slot that just beats up on linebackers, beats up on safeties. And the stuff that he did this past season is crazy. 117 catches, not targets. Catches, 117 catches for 1,555 yards and 10 touchdowns. He played in the MAC, so that's one thing I hear about him, not the best competition in the MAC, but I don't care. He played against Penn State and Texas A&M this past season and against Penn State. Harold Fannin went 11 for 137 and a touchdown, and the following week against Texas A&M, he went 8 for 145 and a touchdown. And then at the end of the season in the 68 Ventures Bowl versus Arkansas State, Harold Fannin Jr. caught 17 passes for 213 yards and a touchdown. I want weapons. This dude is a weapon. So the next pick now, since the Browns traded 94 to the Falcons, would be pick 104, the fourth pick in the fourth round. And the Browns are going to take Ozzy Trapilo, offensive tackle out of Boston College. 6'8", 316 pounds, tall tackle prospect with NFL bloodlines and a noticeable improvement in play strength last season. The run blocking tape falls below the protection tape due to leverage and adjustment limitations we frequently see with taller tackles. Trapilo won't generate much movement in the run game, but good upper body power helps him neutralize the edge. He operates with sound pass sets, active hands, and excellent arm extension. He has a good feel for pocket depth with an ability to ride rushers over the top, but he will get beat by inside counters and speed to power rushers at times. Trapilo could operate as a swing tackle early on, but his potential in pass protection gives him a good chance to become an NFL starter. So after loading up on offensive weapons, we got Travis Hunter, we got TreVeyon Henderson, we got Jalen Milroe, we got Harold Fannin Jr. Damn, I would be so pumped if that was the Browns draft, to be honest with you guys. Now we are going to take a strong depth piece on the offensive line who has the potential to eventually, if things go well, take over that starting right tackle spot in the next year or two after Jack Conklin moves on. So this is a move that I would be totally on board with the Browns making. So we skip pick 179. That was also traded to the Falcons in the Kirk Cousins move. And now we are at pick 192, the 16th pick in the 6th round, and we take Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, defensive lineman out of Georgia. 6'5", 275 pounds, just 21 years old. Just checking boxes there for Andrew Berry on the defensive side of the ball on that line. NFL Profile says Ingram-Dawkins is ready to do it with the tools to do it, but he's still learning how to do it. Ingram-Dawkins' relative lack of experience shows up with inconsistent instincts in the run game and a lack of development as a rusher. However, he possesses an impressive blend of size and suddenness that allows him to attack blocks and shoot gaps. He's a bender with excellent range and change of direction. He offers more flash than finish as a pass rusher, but has all the tools to get after pockets when his hands and approach get trained up. He's also scheme and position versatile with loads of upside, but he's still developing and has a wider gap between his ceiling and floor relative to his fellow D-line prospects. He's listed as an edge rusher some places, an interior D lineman, other places. Again, scheme versatile, alignment versatile. I think this would be a great addition. And he plays on the Georgia defensive line. Let's get us a Georgia defensive lineman in here. Those guys seem to be awesome all the time. So here we take Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. We pair him up with Isaiah McGuire and Obo and Joe Tryon and who else do we have over there? Alex Wright, all these other edge rushers that can kind of work in tandem to alleviate pressure off of Myles Garrett. We've got Mike Hall. We've got Malik Collins now in the interior. I kind of like the way it threw out this mock draft with taking Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins here. I like how the defensive line is shaping up for the Browns in 2025. Pick 200, the 24th pick in the 6th round. The Browns finally address a glaring need on defense, and it is the safety position with Caleb Ransaw, defensive back out of Tulane. And I put defensive back because he can kind of play cornerback. He can play safety. So he's got some versatility and flexibility in his game as well. 5'11", 197, 22 years old. Ran a 4.33 40, has a 40-inch vertical. His athleticism score at the combine was off the charts, 4th best among players that were labeled as cornerbacks. Draft profile, Ransaw already plays with an NFL field demeanor, utilizing his good size and strength. He is terrific as a big nickel supporting the run, but he might not have the cover talent to hold up in man coverage against NFL slot receivers. He's capable in zone and might be rugged enough to line up over big slots and pass-catching tight ends. If he can't hold up as a slot, a move to safety could be a comfortable transition. Ransaw has the tools to play as a pro, but scheme fit could decide his ceiling and productivity. Get me Ransaw, this defensive back out of Tulane. Let's get him into Jim Schwartz's defensive backfield and just see what happens, because I like the tools and the abilities that he brings and offers. And, here we are at the end of the 6th round. We had to start taking, shots on some of these guys that have this upside. All right, 216, the 40th pick in the 6th round. Here's where we get our big, powerful bruising back to go along with TreVeyon Henderson. We are taking Raheim Sanders, running back out of South Carolina. 6 feet tall, 220 pounds. He's 22 years old. They say when healthy, Sanders has been a productive 3-down back at 2 SEC spots. He played at Arkansas before transferring over to South Carolina. He's a big rusher with pop behind his pads. He runs with timing and tempo as a one-cut runner. He creates yards with vision and cut quickness, but he can fall into the trap of trying to be a hero instead of taking yards that are there and just moving on. His speed won't prohibit him from outside runs, but his living will be made inside the tackles. He's rarely stopped on gotta have it downs and is capable out of the backfield. Fumbles and inconsistent pass protection might land him in the doghouse, but he has the size and talent to become a committee runner. That's the kind of guy. I know there's a couple, but here we are. You're going to have pros and cons with all these guys. I'm not taking anybody away just because he's fumbled a couple times in college or what have you. Big bruising back. Get him in here with TreVeyon Henderson, with Jerome Ford, and let's just change this backfield up from what we experienced last season, because it was terrible. But here you get a guy who, he's got the outside speed. He's going to be great inside the tackles. One-cut runner, can make things happen out of the backfield. I really like the idea of getting Raheim Sanders late, pairing him up with TreVeyon Henderson, who we took clear up at pick, 33, the first pick in the 2nd round. And finally, the last pick for the Browns here, 255, the 35th pick in the 7th round. We are going to take Andrew Berry a little at his word here, because he said that the QB room He said we might sign a veteran or acquire a veteran, but it is probably going to skew young. Okay, so you've got Kenny Pickett already in there, who's 26, I believe. And then we just drafted Jalen Milroe, who's 22. We did acquire Kirk Cousins, who's 36. But now we're going to continue skewing young. And we're taking Max Brosmer, the quarterback out of Minnesota. 6'2", 217, 24 years old. He's a confident, cerebral quarterback with average traits who proved he could play at the FBS level. Brosmer has an average arm but throws with anticipation and a sudden release. His ball placement needs some work to become more accomplished against tight man coverage, but he can pick apart zone coverages with intermediate throws. He's asked to read and attack coverages and can do so when in rhythm, but his production nosedives when the pocket heats up and he's forced to move. Brosmer's lack of mobility and second reaction playmaking does hurt his chances, but he should be appealing to a play-action-based offense utilizing levels route concepts. Boom. There you go. Maybe we just got our backup quarterback for Kevin Stefanski's offense here in Cleveland, and who knows, maybe he ends up being a Brock Purdy here at the end of the 7th round. Comes in, no high-level athletic traits whatsoever, but throws with timing and anticipation. And once you get these guys to the NFL, I mean, this is stuff based on what they did in college. Get them in the NFL offense, get them here with NFL coaching, and really train them up. You know, now you're in the NFL. Now it's a job. You know, you're not worried about school part-time. You're not worried about football part-time. Football is 100% your focus now. So that's why there's always room for these guys to grow and to grow significantly from that jump to college to the NFL. So I kind of like the value and the potential of taking a guy like Max Brosmer here at the end of the 7th round. So quickly to recap, with pick 2, the Browns go Travis Hunter, wide receiver first and foremost, / cornerback out of Colorado. TreVeyon Henderson at pick 33, running back out of Ohio State. Pick 46, we traded back up, got Kirk Cousins, gave up some capital, but landed the 14th pick in the 2nd round to take Jalen Milroe, quarterback out of Alabama. And then 67, we take Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end out of Bowling Green. The Browns are getting weapons. And now let's get a little protection for our weapons. 104, Ozzy Trapilo, offensive tackle out of Boston College. Finally going to address a little bit of defense, and we're going to take Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, the defensive lineman out of Georgia at pick 192. Pick 200 goes to Caleb Ransaw, cornerback / safety out of Tulane. 216, Raheim Sanders, big bruising running back out of South Carolina. And we wrap things up at 255 with Max Brosmer, quarterback from Minnesota. And that's it, guys. Drop it in the comments. What do you think about Mock Draft 5.0? What do you think about my previous mocks? How does this one stack up? Do you think that the buzz and hype right now in the community going toward Travis Hunter, is that real? Is that who we're taking? Or are we going to just stick and pick Shedeur Sanders, get the quarterback thing locked up right away, not mess around with Joe Flacco, not mess around with Kirk Cousins or any of these veterans, and just move forward? We will see 3 weeks from today. Join us on April 24th, the first round of the draft, our 5th annual NFL Draft live show. We cannot wait to do it with you guys. Kenny Mack's going to be in studio with us. We're going to be there for the entire first round. It's going to be a ton of fun because not only do we get to kick the night off with what the Browns do at the top of the draft, but then we've got players that we are watching the whole night to see, are they going to come and be available at 33 the following night on Friday? So TreVeyon Henderson, who we took here at 33, does he make it out of the first? Emeka Egbuka, a guy who is projected right now at pick 33 in mock draft database, right where the Browns are at. Some of these other playmaking weapons. Or do the Browns, do we go Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter? What quarterback could we get at 33? It's going to be a ton of fun. Can't wait to do it all with you guys. And if you want to get into the conversation and hang out with our Browns community, our Dog Pack community, 24/7 conversations taking place in there. It's like a safe social media place for diehard Browns fans, honestly, is what the Dog Pack community has become. People in there from all over the world. It's awesome. Such a great place to be. That's jointhedogs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member on our Patreon page. Sync it up with the private Discord. Get access to the fantasy football leagues. All the stuff, all the contests that we run, everything that we do in the Dog Pack, you can be a part of. And again, it's $5 a month. And if you get in there and you don't like it, just unsubscribe. It's not a big deal, but your contributions do seriously help out the podcast, help support us, because we are an independent podcast and we're doing this ourselves. We are bringing you guys the best Browns content we can do, and we're just continuing to develop and grow and improve. And the dog pack has been an enormous part of helping us get better every single year that we've done this podcast. So jointhedogs.com. We hope to see you guys in there. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think about Mock Draft 5.0. Join us on all our social medias to stay into all the news that's happening here over the weekend, and we will see you guys next week. Let's go, Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box for Pets. Browns fans, it's about time the Dawgs offered you something for the real dogs in your life. Our furry friends aren't just pets, they're part of the family. And you wouldn't let yourself or your children eat strange meat from questionable sources, and your dog shouldn't either. Right now, head to butcherboxforpets.com/dogs or use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, to get 20% off your entire order. At ButcherBox, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain 0 artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula with over 50% of the recipe comprised of third-party certified humane ButcherBox meat, plus functional ingredients like pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and digestion. And ButcherBox even removes the guesswork for you. Their custom meal plans are perfectly portioned to fit your dog's nutritional needs based on 8 factors, including age, weight, and activity level. I know my home wouldn't be the same without Odie, our 100-pound golden who thinks he's a 10-pound lap dog. And it gives us peace of mind knowing that we're giving him quality food instead of that factory processed garbage from the store. And speaking of the store, no need to add dog food to the shopping list ever again. ButcherBox delivers their high-quality food right to your door on the right feeding schedule for your dog. And you can change, modify, or pause your plan at any time. So head to butcherboxforpets.com/dogs and use promo code DAWGS for 20% off your order. It's time for all of us dogs to give all of our dogs the nutrition they deserve.